Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.35b just came out. There's a lot of small buffs and nerfs to tweak minor balance stuff, but there's a couple bigger changes that we're going to focus on here, just the analysis of the highlights, the things that I think are the most important here. Starting with items, because they kind of dictated some of the meta here. Solar Crest is going to be nerfed. This was huge. You're going to see like 3 to 4 of these in every single game, possibly all on your own team. So Pavis got some minor nerfs. 1 armor less, 25 health less. That is not that big of a deal for Pavis. Solar Crest also had some stats reduced, not a huge deal. It is these next 2 changes that are the big changes to Solar Crest. So let's actually start with this last one. It will no longer grant bonus movement speed nor attack speed when you use it on yourself. A lot of core heroes were building Solar Crest because it was just that good. It gave all around good stats and the buildup was easy. That part, still mostly the same. But you could then activate it for free and get this extra move speed and attack speed, which would let you farm faster. Plus, you'd have that barrier, physical barrier, to protect yourself from the creep damage, as well then run at people and attack them. You just chase them down and hit them. So Solar Crest was really good for core heroes. They're not going to get any benefit from that anymore. It is going to be supports who will mainly build Solar Crest because you don't want to use it on yourself. You want to use it on your allies. Cores don't really buy those types of items as much, so it's going to be support heroes. And for those support heroes, they're going to need to consider it a little bit more when they do build it, because there is 100 mana cost to Solar Crest now, which I think is totally fair. I think it was ridiculous that this item was free before, and that's why everyone was just spamming it because it was so good. I do think it's kind of being nerfed on every single front, which might be a little bit overkill, but I think the place of Solar Crest is now going to be where it probably should have been. It is good versus physical damage. When your team wants to play a little faster, you have someone who, you know, they want to get going like a Huskar, you want to protect them from the tower dives, from the physical damage of the enemy team, and buff them up. That's when you get Solar Crest. It is not going to be, yeah, I'm playing Dota, of course I build Solar Crest anymore. So it's more specialized to supports, especially those who have enough mana to use it. And if you don't have the mana to use it, but you want to build it anyways, you just have to be a bit more careful. You can't just like willy-nilly act, oh, you're farming here, have it, for free. If it had stayed free, even if supports were building it, they would just constantly use it on their cores. So you now have to consider, is this really that significant that they need the Solar Crest? Then I will use it, because 100 mana is a decent chunk. There was also a lot of magic damage in every Dota game, partly to address the Solar Crest, but also partly because just items that were good with magic damage had been buffed, such as Veil, now building into Shivas. Both of those items have been nerfed. Still decent, I think. You'll still see them, but they're not going to be as strong. Bloodstone, not built on every hero that was popular, but as Bloodstone tends to be, kind of busted on a few mage heroes. So like Leshrac, pumping out the AoE damage, would activate Bloodstone, would heal, would get mana back, and just could do whatever. It was so difficult to deal with. That's why Leshrac was one of the top win rate heroes of 7.35. So that's being nerfed, along with like the Shivas and Mage Slayer, which had hurt some of these spellcasters. Mage Slayer also actually being buffed a little bit, so if there are still magic heroes in the game, it should be easier to deal with them, because this actually 40% is quite a lot to debuff their spell damage. So that will also allow you to address these magic damage heroes if they remain popular, but I think they will drop off. Vladimir's offering is losing the recipe, so it's 250 gold cheaper, which is already nice. And now you can disassemble it. Now, disassembling is very interesting. So some items that we had that are now gone, like Arcane Boots and Echo Saber, they used to be disassemblable, and people would plan for that. You would buy it to get the value of the item to start, and then you would disassemble it to build bigger things later. But usually there were only 2 components that it would disassemble, and you would figure out like both items were useful, and they could then be upgraded into different ways. But Vlad's actually has 4 components, which I think makes it a lot harder to build an early Vlad's and then disassemble it and find a use for every single component. Now, you don't strictly have to, right? You could use Morbid Mask for like a Satanic, and then the Blades of Attack into like Daedalus or something. Those are late game options for you, but I don't know what you do with these. Like, you could build Greaves, but what hero builds like Greaves Satanic Daedalus, right? I don't know. You're gonna like end up wasting some of the components probably if you want to do this, but maybe there's a cool build here. I don't know it right now. Getting into hero changes, Abaddon was one of the big winners. Curse of Avernus was doing a lot of damage. To do the math for you, 60 damage per second at 4.5 seconds does 270 damage. Now that it's only going to be 50 damage for 4 seconds, that is dropping to 200 damage. So he's losing 70 damage off of the same 4 hits, at least at max level. So big nerf to him there. Death Prophet was doing pretty well, so she's getting a series of nerfs. Many people were trying Juggernaut, the change to Blade Fury, but it wasn't that great. So he's getting some buffs here, might now be stronger there. Leshrac was doing very well with all the changes. So Split Earth is going to have a longer cooldown, and when you buy the shard, it's not going to grow as large. It was kind of ridiculous in team fights. I'll admit it as well, even as a Leshrac support enjoyer. The Lightning Storm losing attack slow, so it was 50 flat as part of the buff he got in 7.35. Is now going to scale 20, 30, 40, 50. So that is a lot of attack speed to lose just at level 1. So that's going to hurt his laning stage a lot. Maybe Leshrac support is still kind of viable because I'm not affected really as much by the Veil and Bloodstone change because I wasn't building those anyways. But this does hurt in the laning stage, like these two changes, because the shard change is painful for support Leshrac. So it's probably still something you can do, but I don't know if it's really going to be like OP or anything. Lycan got buffed, so maybe he can do like a cool Vlad's build where he goes like into the Vlad's and then breaks it apart for AC Satanic Daedalus. I'm not sure, but maybe keep an eye out for it. We're gonna have to be careful of the Carry Muerta power spike when she picks up Shard because it now applies retroactively. So she's gonna suddenly get maybe 10% bonus damage when she picks us up. That could catch some people off guard, so keep an eye out for that. OD was really strong with all the changes, so just nerfs across the board to this guy. Him and Leshrac, they were the two winners of the patch. They were the highest win rates in the game, so just nerfs everywhere to this guy. PA's win rate was bad, so she's getting buffs across the board, but I also think part of the reason she was bad was because there were so many high-tempo magic damage heroes that would run her over before she could pick up the pace. She scales really well into the late game, but not when Leshrac and OD are just killing you right off the bat. So I'm not sure if she really needed these buffs so much as she needed the other heroes to get nerfed. Maybe she did. I don't know. I don't have that kind of data that Valve has, but keep an eye out for it if we suddenly swing the other way. If magic damage is all dropping and suddenly all the physical damage is getting buffed and everything, we might see a sudden switch. Timber was doing well, nerfed. Tiny, I think, he could rise up. I'm not sure as a core or a support or both. Frequently when he's popular, he is both. He had a bunch of buffs in the last patch, and now even more as well. So I think we're getting close to that point where Tiny is going to feel quite nice. As a support, I think he didn't like building Solar Crest. There are some heroes who wanted to build Blink first, but Solar Crest was so good on supports that you needed to be a Solar Crest builder, really. So Tiny, he's going to like the fact that Solar Crest is dropping off a lot, and he's not going to be punished as hard for wanting to rush a Blink, plus all these buffs. We might see more Tiny support and Tiny mid and carry. I don't know. We're seeing some buffs there. I'm not fully sure on that. Let me know if you think I missed anything big. I will be playing this to, see where it all falls out, but I'd love any input from you guys. Now that we're at the B patch, things should start to stabilize, so I will work on getting a tier list out for you guys. I know you guys have been asking for it to figure out who's the best and all that, but we should now be stabilizing, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you. See you later.